power he now had at hand. He exerted his utmost strength to build up his own so-called third-generation image. He went around to gather inscriptions and to show off, but he was not able to conceal the fear of doom in his heart. Jiang Zemin cried out to eliminate any unstable factors in their embryonic stage, which was just the conclusion he came to in extreme fear. In 1992, Falun Gong rose quietly in mainland China. At first, many people regarded it as a type of Qigong with an especially powerful ability to keep people healthy and fit. However, people gradually realized that the essence of Falun Gong is to teach people to become better based upon the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance.
如果不是亲眼所见，你很难会相信有如此多的人自发地聚在一起锻炼身体。
Although the concept of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance benefits any society and people with no negative effects, the Communist Party had its own methods of belief and mind control. From the day the party seized power, it started to poison and deprive Chinese people's minds in an organized way, which in China is known as being tamed by the tools of the party.
我们的国家既无外债，又无内债，市场繁荣，物价稳定，人民群众购买力不断。
During more than 50 years of brainwashing the populace, the party has always taken atheism as the absolute truth in its propaganda and educational system. Because the legitimacy of the communist regime was based on materialism and the wish to build a heaven on earth, it could only rely on the leadership of the vanguard in the world, namely, itself, the Communist Party. The atheists' propaganda aims to make people believe there is no heaven or hell, and no karmic retribution, so that people would no longer be restrained by their conscience. Instead, they would focus on wealth and comfort as being the reality of this world. The weaknesses in human nature could then be manipulated, and intimidation and temptation could be used to control people fully. Meanwhile, the practice of atheism enabled the Communist Party to itself interpret freely what is virtuous and what is good or bad. However, theism gives people an unchanging standard of good and bad. Falun Gong practitioners evaluate right or wrong based on truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. This obviously hinders the CCP's efforts to unify people's thinking. Moreover, those with strong beliefs are able to see through life and death. The illusions of the secular world do not move them. They take the temptations of the earthly world and threats to their lives lightly, thus rendering the Communist Party feeble in any efforts to manipulate them. The philosophy that the Communist Party has relied on for its survival, as well as its so-called ideological point of view, are completely opposite to what Falun Gong teaches. Falun Gong promotes truthfulness, including only telling the truth and doing truthful things. However, the genes inherited by the Communist Party are deceit and lies. The party once claimed, nothing significant can be accomplished without lying. Falun Gong promotes compassion, including considering others first and being kind to others in all circumstances. But violence is another gene inherited by the party. The party advocates brutal struggle and merciless crackdown. Falun Gong promotes a world outlook of searching inside oneself. However, the Communist Party's concept of history and the world is the philosophy of struggle. The Communist Manifesto states, "The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggle. Struggle has been the major means for the Communist Party to gain political power and to survive. Following the June 4, 1989 massacre at Tiananmen Square, the CCP has fully advocated that people should earn more money and make a fortune. The party once claimed, "Courage should be more, and pace should be faster." It turned to total corruption in exchange for party members' loyalty. In other words, whoever followed the party would be allowed to gain personal benefits through corruption and embezzlement, an advantage impossible to non-party members. Ever since this time, government officials' profiteering and corruption in real estate and the stock market have run wild in China. Illegal second wives and smuggling are everywhere. Pornography, gambling, and drugs have become rampant all over China. Under such a background, the high moral standards demonstrated by Falun Gong practitioners, who practice truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, resonated with kindness in the hearts of the public. People voluntarily studied Mr. Li Hongshi's series of books and promoted Falun Gong at their own expense. Falun Gong is spread from person to person and heart to heart. In a short 7 years, more than 100 million people were attracted to Falun Gong and started the practice. Falun Gong has a loose management structure, and anyone can come and go freely as he wishes. It is very different from the strict organization of the CCP. In China, the CCP exerts total control over every part of society. In the countryside, there are Communist Party branches in every single village. In urban areas, branch offices of the CCP are found in every neighborhood. In the army, government, and enterprises, the party structure reaches to the very root. Despite the party's strict organization, the political study and group activities conducted weekly or more frequently in the CCP branches exist only in form. Few party members agree with the party ideology. On the contrary, Falun Gong is a mirror of righteousness, which by its very nature reveals all the unrighteousness of the CCP. In fact, what Falun Gong brings to people is a culture and a way of life. It is an ancestral culture and the root of Chinese traditions, which the Chinese people had lost long ago. Once this traditional morality was accepted by the public, nothing could prevent it from flourishing rapidly. Chinese traditional beliefs have been forcibly shut down and tampered with by the Communist Party for decades. It would be the choice of history to return to tradition. It would be the path of return chosen by the vast majority of people after tribulations and misery. When given such a choice, people can certainly distinguish between right and wrong and are likely to leave wickedness behind. This amounts to a fundamental denial and abandonment of what the Communist Party has promoted.
今天一大早，上海体育中心人头攒动，本市近万名爱好法轮大法的练功者汇聚一处，进行推广表演。
Just when more and more people started to practice Falun Gong and save a large amount of medical expenses for the country, and social morality began improving gradually, the CCP's evil nature started to show its effect. From 1994, the CCP's primary organ for watching the country's people, the Public Security Ministry, began suppression, monitoring, and investigation of Falun Gong, with the intent to fabricate accusations that could be used to frame Falun Gong. In 1996, Guanming Daily published articles denouncing Falun Gong's ideology for no reason. After that, politicians with backgrounds in public security, or disguised as so-called scientists, continually harassed Falun Gong in the state-controlled press.